welcome to Project 2 overview. All right, so first things first, Project 2 is located in Module 5. So you'll notice we're talking about Section 10, which is credit cards, Section 11, which is loans and mortgages, and then Section 12, which is retirement, savings, annuities, that kind of thing. So those are the topics that you are going to need for the financial project. So when you click on the financial project, there we go, you're going to notice 4 links. Now, I've labeled 2 of them. The first one is called important because that's where all of the information is that you're going to need. The last one is helpful. So those are the 2 I would recommend looking at. Okay. The other 2, if you want to check out, you can, but they're not going to be like do or die. Okay. So first, the important one. That's this document. Okay. So basically the way it's going to happen is, or what's going to happen is you are going to write me a paper. And when I say paper, we're talking, short here. The only thing you're turning in is the Word document. And this Word document is going to compare you, a college graduate, to a high school graduate. Okay, so you're comparing in things like salary, annual salary, your retirement, your housing, raises, that sort of thing. Okay, so obviously you can read through this, but you want to make sure that you are using Excel functions for this, which is where the helpful document will come in, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So the big thing is you want to make sure that you're addressing these in full, complete sentences, just like you did in Project 1. You want to make sure you are quantitative, right? Using numbers to back up your answers. You can't just say, I would earn more. That doesn't tell me anything, right? So make sure that your sentences are descriptive. Pretend I don't know anything about your project or your career that you're choosing. So that's kind of the key. All right. So you have 5 sections. Each one of these sections is worth 20 points because, right, this is what you're answering. 5 sections worth of questions. It's a 100-point project. So each section is 20 points. So you first are going to decide what your career is going to be, right? You're all in school for something, hoping to create or maybe advance your career, something like that. So these first 3 pieces are like information, what you're doing in section 1, and then your 20 points are going to be you answering these questions. So in section 1, you're basically getting not quite 10 points per question because the second one has more to do. But in your first paragraph, you're going to describe what job you've chosen and why. So maybe I want to be an astronaut. So I'm going to school to be an astronaut. So I would decide that I have chosen to be an astronaut. I want to work for NASA. I always have found space to be exciting, blah, 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 blah. I want to walk on the moon. I don't know. What do you want to do and why do you want to do it? Tell me about that. Then you're going to compare your salary, okay? Because one of the things is you need to find the median. If you can't find the median, use the mean. But what salary are you earning for that particular field? Now, one thing I do want to say is that let's say that you pick nursing. Well, what kind of nurse are you hoping to be? And do you plan to live like in Indianapolis or Honolulu, Hawaii? Because nurses pay different in different parts of the country. So you might, if your goal is to move to Seattle, well, then look up what your job might earn in Seattle, because it is different, right? Depending on where you're at, and explain all of that, right? I want to be a nurse. I want to live in Seattle. The median salary for a nurse in Seattle is $1 gajillion. Great. Tell me that. You'll notice in section 1 that we are using $22,000 annually for a high school graduate. That number changes every semester. So make sure you're paying attention and you're using that. Okay, so you have yours. Everybody's career is going to be a little different, but we are all going to use $22,000 for the high school graduate. So in part 2 of section 1, you're going to compare your salary, whatever that is, to the high school graduate, using both absolute and relative change. Now, if you think about your workbook, absolute and relative change, you can talk about what sections those are in. So absolute and relative change, that's from section 7 in the workbook. So you can always go back and check that out if you need to. But you can't just say the absolute change is 22,000. The relative change is 14%. That doesn't tell me anything. You will not get full credit. What do those numbers mean? Use meaningful sentences. Okay, that's the key. Now, you can use the helpful document. Okay, so this is the helpful document that I talked about earlier. The point of this, and you don't have to turn this in, the point of this is for reference. So let's pretend that for a college graduate, I'm just going to use some random number. Let's just say 50,000 is my salary for a college graduate. We know that the high school graduate is 22,000. Now the absolute change, right? Formulas, the absolute change from high school to college graduate. So 50,000, actually let's use cell references. 50,000 minus my high school graduate, right? New minus old, it's 28,000. My relative change is new minus old divided by old. So I take the absolute change and I divide by the high school graduate, and that gives me my relative change. Now, the thing about relative change is its percentage. That really should be the same for all of them. So as you're working through this, check it out. Okay, now think about monthly salary. If my salary is annual, how do I change that to a month? Well, I divide by 12. Okay, and that's the idea. Then you would do it for the high school graduate and you could go across. This gives you information that you need so that you can create your document. Okay, so these up here will help you in section 1. Okay, let's go to section 2, the mortgage loan. Now, mortgages come in section 11, starts on page 139. And you're going to need to use a formula. So I'm telling you, the formula that you need is on page 145. 145 is the Excel formula you need for this. Okay. Actually, it's on page 144 and 145. So you need to read these sections. It goes along with the workbook. So this loans is section 11. So if you don't have your workbook, you can find those pages again in the learning activities in the modules. So you're going to go through, you're going to read this directions. We're going to spend 32% of our monthly gross income on the mortgage. That tells me how much I'm paying. So if I come back over here, percent of salary to mortgage. So it said 32% of monthly gross. So I'm going to say equals 32% times my monthly salary. And this is what is my payment. That is my payment for per month. So how much mortgage can I use? Well, I'm going to use the PV function. Okay, and that is what you will find on page 145. 145, the PV function. For the PV function, you're going to need the annual percentage rate, which is that 4.5%. You're going to need how many years, which in this case is 30. And you're going to need that value that we just found of 32%. You're going to do that for the college graduate and the high school graduate. And then you're going to answer these questions. Okay. Again, you're going to get 20 points for answering those 3 questions. Use numbers, right? Quantitative answers. And it says, make sure to include the Excel formula. Tell me about your Excel formula. You're not turning in the Excel document. You're only turning in the Word document. Okay. Then section 3, we go to retirement. Now, retirement is section 12. And the formula that you're going to use for section 3 can be found on page 151. 151 is your retirement. So 6% of your monthly income. So you're going to come over here to percent of salary. Oops, wrong button. And you're going to say, okay, 6% equals 6%. Why am I getting a 6%? Whew, I'm struggling here. 6% times my monthly salary. And that's how much I'm investing. Again, you're going to do this for the high school graduate as well. So the retirement, you're going to use FV, function for future value for retirement. Again, that's found on page 151. For that, you're going to need the rate of return, how many years, and that value I just found. Okay, and then again, 20 points for answering those 3 questions. So again, this Excel document helps you find the values so that you can then write about them answering the questions. Okay. All right, section 4 is salary increases. So we are having a percent increase. That is an exponential model. Okay, so exponential models are going to come back here to section 9 is exponential models. So you might need to use, I don't know. I don't remember what I'm talking about, but exponential models is section 9. And talking about doubling, I think, twice as much as when you started. So there is a formula for this. It will help it make your life a whole lot easier. It is on page 124. 124 from section 9. And that will help you answer these questions very, very quickly. Page 124. Trust me, you're going to want to look that up. So that's section 4. Again, 20 points for these questions. And then section 5, 20 points is all your opinion. So all you're going to do is read through section 5, give me your opinion, and there you go. Okay, so 5 sections. I should see 5 distinct paragraphs. Make sure you are using complete sentences, quantify your answers, and just make sure that you are fully answering these questions. If you do that, you're going to have no problem with this. All right, that's project 2. Thanks all.